Welcome back to the Daily BS. My name is Doug Larson. It's Michael Bledsoe right over there. Just made us breakfast, that nice guy, and brand new coffee. So I got a question on our survey. Says, what would you tell an orthopedic doctor who says that putting weight over your head is the worst possible thing you can do to your shoulders? So first, I wouldn't say that he's necessarily wrong as far as exercises in the gym that are hard on your shoulders. Pushing barbells overhead is probably one of the things that really is the hardest on your shoulders. Especially things like jerk, where you're taking a weight that's heavier than you can actually press. You're using your legs to dip, jump, throw it over your head, and then catch it. If you're a person that doesn't have good thoracic mobility, if you have poor posture, if you don't upwardly rotate your scapula very well, or you have poor shoulder mobility, then that's going to be very hard on your shoulders, as opposed to either vertical pulling or horizontal pressing and pulling, like push-ups and rows. Pressing overhead, especially with a barbell where your hands are in a fixed position, as opposed to dumbbells or kettlebells where you have freedom to move. Barbell pressing, and especially, like I said, things like jerks where you're throwing an extra heavy weight over your head, really are the hardest things on your shoulders out of almost all of the movements in CrossFit or just in weight training in general. Even things like handstand push-ups tend to be easier on your shoulders. The easiest way to think about this is anything where you're moving your body and your hands are fixed, as opposed to having your body fixed where you're moving your hands, tends to be easier on your joints. So a handstand push-up tends to be easier on your joints than a barbell press, for example. So I would say that the doctor's not necessarily incorrect, but there's different levels for pressing. Again, if you have really bad technique and you lack mobility, then it's going to be very hard on your shoulders. At a lot of non-CrossFit gyms, what they do is they say you have to earn your ability to press overhead. So they look at your scapular mechanics and they look at your mobility, and only if you are a person who can upwardly rotate your scapula all the way and you have full shoulder flexion do they let you press overhead. And until then, you're doing, again, horizontal pressing and pulling like push-ups and rows. You're doing maybe at a regular gym some type of incline dumbbell or incline bench pressing, but you're not pressing all the way fully overhead. In our case, as CrossFit athletes, pressing overhead and doing things like snatches, jerks, and overhead vertical pulling movements like hip pull-ups and deadhang pull-ups and similar movements like that are a part of the sport, and so it's just something you pretty much have to deal with. You should be taking care of your scapular mechanics and your mobility issues if you have them. If you don't know how to tell if you have those issues, Maximum Mobility will show you how to test specifically for mobility restrictions in your upper back and at your shoulders. As far as testing your scapular mechanics, probably the easiest way to do that is to have either a physical therapist or a chiropractor, someone who can assess your positions and watch your shoulder blades floating on your back, and they can actually tell if you're able to move your shoulder blades up and down on your back enough to get into a good overhead position. So I'd refer you to a physical therapist specifically for that. So again, the orthopedist isn't necessarily wrong. It is very hard on your shoulders, but there's safe ways to do it and there's not so safe ways to do it. And so what we would like to do is to have the ability to press overhead safely by taking care of our scapular stability and our shoulder mobility. So I'll leave you with that. If you're a person that has those problems, get them cleared up as soon as possible. If you want to ask us more questions similar to this, you can ask us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Barbell Shrugged Podcast, or you can go to the barbellshrugged.com survey, click the Ask a Question tab at the top of the page, and you can ask us a question on that survey.
If you like this video or any of our other videos, make sure to share it on your Facebook wall by clicking share and then the Facebook icon, and then also like it. Thanks, Shrug Thugs.